get started. All right. Good evening, everyone. It's fantastic to see everyone here tonight. Welcome to our exclusive webinar on investing in real estate from your retirement account, IRA, and 401k. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. I'm Anchal Dwivedi, Managing Partner at Goldstone Capital Ventures. Joining me here is my fellow Managing Partner, Dinesh Nayak, along with our guest speaker, Corey Daharsh. Today's session promises to be a very exciting. It's very exciting to hear from Corey. So a little bit about Goldstone Capital Ventures. So at Goldstone Capital Ventures, we focus on identifying, underwriting, acquiring, and managing commercial assets with significant value add potential. We specialize in transforming property into vibrant communities that offer financial rewards for our investors and desirable living spaces for residents. We also excel in developing brand new apartments and also other commercial assets. To date, we have acquired over 16 real estate assets comprising more than 1,600 units across prime locations in Carolinas, both North and South, Texas, Tennessee, Wisconsin, Florida, and other parts of the country. Our portfolio includes value-add apartments, ground-up construction apartments, student housing, assisted living facilities, short-term rentals, and more. We are expanding into Virginia and actively looking into industrial and flex spaces due to growing demand. Our upcoming projects in various asset classes reflects our commitment to diversification, enabling us to explore new growth avenues and deliver exceptional results to our investors. So without further delay, I will now hand over to Dinesh, who will walk you through our current portfolio and latest acquisitions. Over to you, Dinesh.
Yeah, thanks, Anshul. Yeah, before we get deeper into this presentation, I just wanted to put a disclaimer here. This session is only for informational purposes, educational purposes. This is not any kind of financial advice, legal advice, or accounting advice. So you please consult your professional consultants for any kind of those kind of purposes. So with that, yeah, this is our team, Anchal, myself, and Shruti. Here is our QR code for our portal and all other links right here for Facebook. And if you want to set up a call with us, you can book a call. A high level, I'm showing here only a few properties that we have acquired over the last couple of years. This is the recent acquisition in Wisconsin, Serenity Villa, assisted living, 125 beds, doing fantastic. This is not only, that doesn't have only 100% occupancy, but it also has a long wait list. East Main Quarters, again, this was acquired last year, 252 beds, student housing. This is just a 0.1 mile walking distance from the MTSU, Middle Tennessee State University campus in Murfreesboro, just outside Nashville, Tennessee. Ivywood Apartments, this is in South Carolina, Gaffney. This is a great acquisition for us because it was just going out of a LIHTC contract, low income housing tax credit contract, and we acquired it so we could, we are slowly increasing the rents to market levels. So this is our new construction project, 184 units in Winston-Salem. We are going through the loan process. There are a lot of good news happening in there. We just got over the conceptual meeting with the HUD committee, and we got a green signal to go ahead. So that's a great news here. So once we get the loan, we will be starting the groundbreaking here. Sweet Redemption, this is another great asset because we converted long-term rentals into short-term rentals, doing great. It's 100% occupancy, and we are already meeting or exceeding pro forma rents, and it's doing really well. Cheslin Place, this is another newly built 2022 built property, 98 townhomes. Great property against in Spartanburg, South Carolina, just outside of BMW plant. Shop tours. This is a Class B property in Charleston, South Carolina. Great area. Yeah, and there are a few other properties as well. We smaller properties. We did not want to include all of them here. With that, I will. Okay. I'll give a quick intro to Corey, and he can get started with the presentation. You have been waiting. So here he is a CISP, Certified IRA Services Professional, and he lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. Since he joined Advanta IRA's business development team, he has been able to leverage everything he had learned from personal experiences, networking, and continuing education to help investors confidently and tap into using self-directed IRA, 401k, HSA, ESA accounts to diversify their portfolios and increase their passive income growth. So we meet Corey in several conferences all around the country, and he's a national speaker. He's very well knowledgeable in this area. So without further ado, Corey, welcome to today's presentation.
Thank you, Dinesh and Anchal. I appreciate you having me on. I just went ahead and clicked screen share. Are you able to see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Just making sure. So yeah, hi everybody. My name's Corey Deharsh. I work with a company called Advanta IRA. We're a self-directed IRA administrator, and I'm really here just to teach you or maybe expand your knowledge on how to use your retirement account funds to invest into alternative assets, specifically today, real estate syndications. So just a little bit about me. I've been with Advanta IRA since 2016. I obtained my CISP designation, that Certified IRA Services Professional tag that Dinesh mentioned a moment ago, in 2018. And most of the time with the company, or at least the first half at this point of my time with the company, I was a client account manager where I just handled clients' transactions on a day-to-day basis, answered their questions, made sure what they wanted to do fell within the IRS rules and regulations. And then about halfway through, about 3.5 years ago, right before COVID hit, actually, I decided with my wife that we wanted to move out of state and live remotely. So I told Advanta IRA, hey, by the end of this year, I'm going to sell my house and move to a different state. And then COVID happened. So I did not have to separate from the company. It was a great situation in my case, where I was able to move, start working remotely, and also transition into what I do now, which is networking and education about the self-directed space. So if you have any questions or any interest in alternative retirement account investing, my contact information is right here. Just reach out. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer. I'll have this contact information up again at the end of the presentation. And if you have any questions as I'm going, please feel free to share those. I think there's a Q&A box in the panel for you on Zoom. So as long as it relates to what I'm presenting on in the moment, I'll go ahead and answer them then. And then when I finish my presentation, I'll be happy to address any other questions that may have come along as well. So just a quick agenda for everybody. I'm going to start with Advanta IRA background and basics, then the basics about self-directed retirement account investing. Then I'm going to hyper focus on real estate investing with a self-directed account, provide you a case study, and then again, we'll do some closing questions and a conclusion to the presentation. So Advanta IRA is a self-directed administrator that's been in business for 20 years now. It's actually 21 this current year. We have about $3 billion in assets under management held by our clients. We're right around 11,000 active clients right now. And each of our clients is paired with a dedicated client account manager. So you have a one-to-one person, as I used to serve in that role, that is the only person you really deal with at Advanta. You don't have to worry about calling a large car center and dealing with a different person, explaining who you are and what you're trying to do every time you reach out. You end up building continuity and understanding and a relationship with your account manager so that they immediately know how to answer your questions efficiently for you, how to assist you, and even sometimes what questions you may be about to ask before you even ask them. So we really try to provide a white glove concierge level customer service to our client base, and a lot of free education as well. That's why I do these types of educational webinars. We put out a podcast called the Alternative Investing Advantage podcast. There's a lot of things we do to provide free education in this space because not a lot of people even know that it exists. Just as Dinesh shared earlier from Goldstone Capital Ventures, I do also have the same disclaimer pretty much. I'm not here to provide tax advice, legal advice, or financial advice, just educational content. Please consult your own CPAs, attorneys, financial advisors before you partake in any specific investment opportunity with or without, a self-directed retirement account. So what is a self-directed retirement account? In general, it's an account where your administrator is not a fiduciary or a financial advisor, and you're allowed to do any investment you'd really like to within that account. So there's no one telling you, oh, you can do this, you cannot do this. As long as the investments you'd like to make fall within the IRS compliance, which I'll also cover for you, you can do whatever you'd like with a self-directed account. It's not limited to real estate. There's other asset classes that you can invest into, like private lending, precious metals. There's a lot of different things you can do. But again, we're here to talk about real estate. So if you're interested in anything else, just reach out to me directly. I'll be happy to answer or help you, point you in the right direction for that content. So there's a number of different types of plans that can be self-directed. Most people are commonly familiar with your traditional or your Roth IRA accounts. Those are standard US-based retirement accounts. You do not have to have any specific employment, but you can only contribute into them based off of your ordinary earned income. And the contribution limit is roughly around $7,000, $8,000 right now, depending on your current age. So you can only put in about that much every year, as long as you earn that much through whatever income you're generating. There are also plans for small business owners and self-employed individuals, like the SEP IRA, the Simple IRA, and the Solo 401k plan. So if you're a small business owner or you run your own entrepreneurship where it's just you and maybe a spouse and no W-2 wage earners, those are great plans with higher annual contribution limits and some additional benefits that may be better for your fitting needs than a traditional or a Roth IRA. And then also we offer health savings accounts if you're someone with a high deductible health policy, and education savings accounts for those young ones in your life where you may want to set aside some money in a tax deferred or tax benefiting basis that you can draw from without tax consequence if they have qualified educational expenses like room and board for college or even tuition for younger school expenses, things like that. So if you're interested in any of those plan types, you think any of them would fit your needs, or you just want to chat with me about what may fit your needs, that's what I'm here for. So why do people switch to a self-directed IRA account? Well, first off, they have to understand that it even exists. So when people are already doing, let's say, syndication investing, as we're here to talk about today, and then they learn, oh, I can also make a syndication investment with my retirement account. Great. I've just had that money sitting in the stock market fluctuating or in a CD earning 2% for me. So just it's a new source of capital for a lot of people once they learn this even exists. The tax benefits are great for these investments because the retirement account is either a tax deferred if it's traditional, meaning your investments grow and grow and grow, and you pay taxes on that money later in life when you distribute it out to use in your retirement. Or if it's a Roth account, meaning you've already paid taxes on the money that's in there, you really never pay taxes on any of the growth or anything once you're ready to start drawing off of that money and living off of it in retirement. And again, I referenced it in the context of new source of capital, but stock market fatigue is a big reason we've seen people switch over, specifically over the past 4 or 5 years. Just people not wanting to ride the wave or the roller coaster of stocks fluctuating up and down, seeing more downturns than upturns. If they're already invested and involved in these types of alternative investing strategies, it's a great way, even if you're not pulling all of your money, to diversify your retirement account portfolio and start making these types of investments to have a little bit better of a yield or return on the money you're investing. So I want to take a few minutes just to explain how simple it is to fund these accounts, because a lot of people think that it's a tedious process or a burdensome of time to get money into a self-directed account. And those are all misnomers. It's actually very fast to fund these accounts. The two main ways that these accounts are funded are by either a custodian to custodian transfer or a rollover. And I'll start with the transfer. A custodian to custodian transfer is when you have a IRA of any type and you want to move it to another IRA of the same type. So traditional to traditional, Roth to Roth, SEP to SEP, or really it can be like a SEP to a traditional, as long as it's tax deferred status to another tax deferred status or post tax to another post tax. That is done usually by a custodian to custodian transfer, which is like a one-page document you fill out on the letterhead and from the company that you want to receive the funds. They submit that document to the company that's currently holding your funds, your current custodian or administrator, and it's usually facilitated via a wire in about 3 to 5 business days on average. There's some custodians that take a little bit longer, but on average, we're seeing that money flow over to us when we submit a request in about 1 business week. Again, this really is dictated by the company that's currently holding your funds. Sometimes they require original paperwork, so you actually have to sign a piece of paper by hand, mail it to our office to countersign, and then we have to mail it along to the other office. But we can do things like expedite the mail, and most of the time they will accept fax. So it's a rather quick process. The other way that funds are moved into these types of accounts is by what's called a rollover. And a rollover takes place when you have an employer-sponsored plan, like a 401k, a 403b, a 457 plan, a thrift savings plan if you've worked for the government. Any type of employer-sponsored plan that you have tax-deferred money in, that's a qualified retirement account. Once you leave that job, you can move that money wherever you want to. And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people just leave that money with that employer plan and also don't know that sometimes they have the right to not let you earn any more off of it once you've terminated employment. I'm not saying that's the case with everybody, but sometimes they will cut you off from earning anymore and not really reach out to you and tell you, hey, you should move this money out to somewhere else because they want to keep investing based off of the money that you've left there with them. So what you do is you initiate a distribution for rollover and you roll those funds straight into another retirement account. There is some tax reporting here, but there's no taxable event as long as the exact amount you pulled out of that account is the exact amount you push into the new account. Just for anyone that's specifically interested in the actual documentation here, the distribution is always reported to the IRS on Form 1099-R, and the rollover into the new qualified plan is reported to the IRS on Form 5498. So anyone with a previous employer-sponsored plan can do a rollover. But also, if you have a current employer-sponsored plan, you may be able to use those funds too. What you need to do is either ask your employer's benefit department or the retirement account company your employer is using if you're eligible for what's called an in-service rollover, meaning you are still employed, you're going to continue being employed there, and for the most part, keep some of your retirement funds in that plan, but basically break off a leg or break off a chunk of it to move out and start self-directing. That is always done on a case-by-case basis in the agreement between your employer and your retirement account administrator. So there's no hard and fast rule. If I work in this industry or for this company, I can always do in-service rollovers. It's always something you're going to have to ask, or I always help people ask that because sometimes they're not comfortable or just don't know how to ask it. If you're in that situation, you want to use funds in your current employer-sponsored plan, I can help you call the right people and get the right questions answered for that. But those are the key ways people fund these accounts. The only other real way to get money into one of these types of accounts is an annual contribution, which I covered earlier. You have a set contribution limit based on the IRS, and as long as you generate earned income in that tax filing year, you can contribute up to that maximum limit. But usually those limits are, lesser than a rollover or a transfer of the funds you've been building for who knows how many years. So the rules about self-directed investing, I said earlier a few slides ago, you can invest into just about anything under the sun. Well, I'm going to break it down very specifically for you. The only asset classes you cannot invest into with a self-directed retirement account are going to be life insurance policies or items that the IRS deemed to be subjective in value or hard to value assets, like antiques, fine wine, artwork, anything that I may deem to have a different value than my neighbor, for example, they don't want held in retirement accounts. I say my neighbor, there's a quick example I like to use. I just moved recently, but I had an old neighbor a few houses down from me that had an old rusty 70s Chevrolet Corvette in his driveway. And I'm sure for how long that car sat in that driveway that this neighbor thought it was going to be worth thousands and thousands of dollars. But to me, it was an immobile rust bucket, just probably worth scrap metal. So something like that is something that the IRS doesn't want to see you hold in your retirement account. But outside of those things I just mentioned, life insurance policies and hard to value assets, you can really hold anything else you'd want to in these types of accounts. You just need to know the proper structure or strategy to do so. And that's what we're experts in. Again, that's part of the CISP designation that I hold and a lot of our staff members hold. We're here to help you and answer your questions and get those strategies set right. The other way that the IRS limits these accounts is by labeling certain individuals as disqualified persons. And those are basically anyone on your family tree completely up and down your main trunk of the tree. So your children, your grandchildren, your parents, your grandparents, yourself, and your spouse are all disqualified persons. That also extends to businesses that those individuals own. So you're not allowed to transact with anyone that's a disqualified person, meaning you can't do a deal with them. You can't sit on the other side of a table on a transaction with a disqualified person, but you can partner with them. You can sit on the same side of a deal with them. You just can't buy or sell between disqualified persons with your retirement funds. Again, just a little bit more of an illustration here. Disqualified persons are just the main trunk of your family tree, businesses that any of those individuals own or control day-to-day operations or decisions for. And that's it. If you're not considering investing into a syndication that a disqualified person to you is a general partner of, then perfectly fine. It'd be a great opportunity for you. So I'm not going to take too long on this slide. It's just a few examples of prohibited transactions. Again, if your IRA owns a piece of real estate, you can't lease it to your child and let them rent the property. You can't buy a piece of property for or from your father. Just basic things based on the last few slides I said. It's very important with self-direction to invest with people you know, to continue to build that triad of know, like, and trust, because you are serving as your own fiduciary or financial advisor with a self-directed account. Aside from you making the decision and doing the thorough due diligence you should be doing, no one's over your shoulder saying, oh, this is a good idea, this is a bad idea. So it's always up to you to make sure you're very comfortable with the people you want to invest with, that you know them well, that you like them, that you trust them before you partake in any specific investment. So join your local investment club, join these types of webinars and network with people so you can get the good and the bad information about those that are in your local community. So as far as real estate investing, there are specifically a number of different asset classes you can actually invest into. We're here to talk about syndication investing, but just for your knowledge and information, you can also invest into owning a physical piece of real estate, whether that's for a short-term rental, a mid-term rental, a long-term rental, a fix and flip property. Maybe you want to own a part of a mobile home park or a specific mobile home unit. You can do tax deed and lien investing. That's a great strategy for people just getting started that don't necessarily have enough to make a contribution into a syndication. You can do options, which is like getting a property under contract and then selling the contract to buy that property to someone else for a profit. It's a number of different things you can do. You can actually be a mortgage lender with your retirement account. So you actually are the bank lending to someone on a piece of property, and that loan is secured by the property. So if they default on it, you could end up with the actual property in your retirement account if that be the case. Wouldn't be the best scenario, obviously, having your borrower pay the loan in full would be the best scenario, but there are things that could work out in those situations. I'm sorry, guys, I just want to see if we did have any questions. I'm not seeing any right now. If anyone in the audience does have questions as I'm going, please don't hesitate to drop them in where you're able to. Otherwise, I'll answer things at the end of the presentation as well. So just a few quick slides on how to actually buy real estate. So the property investment or any investment you make with a self-directed account is going to be titled in the name of the retirement account. So it's going to be tied to a tax ID number for the retirement account, not your social security number. And all of the funds for the investment are going to flow in and out of the retirement account, never touching your personal pocket. Remember, this retirement account is seen as a completely separate entity than you personally. So there's yourself, and then there's your retirement account. So if your retirement account is going to own something, all of the documentation and paperwork need to be in that name there, not your name. And also, as the administrator, it's our job to make sure that paperwork is signed on behalf of your retirement account. So while you'll approve all the paperwork before we execute anything, the signatures are going to come from your Advanta IRA authorized signatory. Or if you end up going with another custodian that does the same type of thing we do, that's exactly how the process is going to look as well. So again, as I just referenced, all the expenses for this investment come out of the retirement account. Something we do is we have an online portal, and we also allow automatic authorizations for your normal utilities. So let's just say your power bill comes in, it comes straight to us, we pay it out automatically. You don't have to worry about it or think about it. You get an email notification when it's processed. Your rental income, same thing. You can have your tenants send the rental income straight to our office. You could have it sent to you if you want to work as a pseudo property manager and make sure your rents are being paid on time and so forth. Or you can even actually have a property manager on contract that handles a lot of that for you if you'd like to. Repairs and maintenance have to be done by non-disqualified individuals. So you cannot do any sweat equity on a property owned in your retirement account. You've always got to get at least a handyman. It does not need to be a licensed insured individual, but it can't be yourself or any of those disqualified persons I referenced earlier. And renting the property or leasing it, however you want to put it, that's always up to you. You dictate who you want to be the tenant. You dictate what terms and what agreements you want to go in with those tenants potentially. And you bring that all to the table once you set it up and it's to your liking. We execute it upon your approval. And then that's how your property is being managed and maintained. It's very simple, very straightforward. It's an easy way to generate passive income. So let's pivot a little bit. I wanted to cover that just for general knowledge, but we're going to turn to syndication investing or multifamily investing. So there are a few different ways people can invest into multifamily. First is syndications. That is the most common way people invest into multifamily assets. That's by using your retirement account to be a limited partner in a larger deal where there's a general partnership team that's put together a full prospectus on how they're going to function that investment and what improvements or what changes they're going to make it generate income, and usually an exit strategy as to how they're going to get out and get you the main chunk of your money back over whatever designated time is in the paperwork. Private lending is another way. So you can actually lend to a group or to an individual that's taking on multifamily as an asset class. And then joint venture agreement. So maybe I have a lot of cash and I have a friend that has a multifamily piece of property in his name or in his retirement account's name. We can partner together with a joint venture agreement that says you're bringing the property to the table, I'm bringing the cash, we're going to do a bunch of improvements, and then we're going to split the proceeds when we sell this property in some sort of designated fashion. So those are just a few different ways you could invest into multifamily. Again, the most common is really syndication investing. It is also the most hands-off. Everything I've talked about so far with owning a physical piece of real estate and maintaining it and finding the tenants and everything, while it is passive income generating assets, it does get to be a little bit burdensome or laborious for people where you are having to do a lot of hands-on activity. Although you're not changing light bulbs or painting or anything like that, there's a lot of kind of things that fall on your shoulders to make sure that functions well and you're making good margins on the investment. With a syndication, again, you're just doing the due diligence and making sure that the plan that the general partnership teams put together looks great to your eyes and to your due diligence. and then you let them go with the money that you invest and do the project how they see. So here's a quick case study, and that'll pretty much wrap up my presentation. So I've got a case study where Abel and John are meeting, and basically Abel has a retirement account that's not currently self-directed. John is a syndicator, and he has a deal that he promotes and pitches to Abel. They talk about the deal, they go over the prospectus. Abel does his full due diligence and decides he wants to invest $50,000, which is a common threshold for these types of investments. Sometimes you'll see them at 25, a lot of times 50 or $100,000 is the minimum threshold for a syndication. So what Abel's going to do is set up a self-directed account, basically complete an application, takes about 15 minutes, get the funds moved over from the existing IRA, takes a few business days. And because he already has the investment paperwork, as soon as that account's open, we can start getting the approval of the paperwork done so that we can fund the investment as soon as the funds come in from the other retirement account company. And what that looks like, again, the investment paperwork, the subscription paperwork is going to list Advanta IRA for the benefit of Abel and his account number. It's going to be tied to the tax ID number for that retirement account. He's going to make sure he reads and approves the entire packet so that we're authorized to execute the transaction and send the executed paperwork along to John's team. And then on the back end, the way a deal like this works out, these are rounded numbers, so it's just for an example's sake, but they're pretty reasonable in the grand scheme of how these deals work out. John's team pays an 8% per distribution to all subscribers per year. So that's $4,000 generated on the $50,000 investment each year. In the fifth year, the project's refinanced and a lump sum payout of $65,000 is generated. So we're looking at a total of $20,000 of preferred distributions plus $15,000 because the project went exceedingly well. So $35,000 has been generated over the course of 5 years on a $50,000 investment. Again, very rounded numbers. Don't expect every single syndication you join to hit these numbers, but it's a reasonable expectation nonetheless. As I just mentioned, it's very easy to start these types of accounts. It takes about 15 minutes to complete an application. As a conservative estimate, you can give yourself a week and a half to 2 weeks for funding and approving the investment paperwork if it's maybe not ready when you start to get the account set up. But in average, I see accounts go when a deal's ready from being open to funding within about 7 to 10 days. And you can start investing again right after pretty much the 7th day after the account's been open. You can do any investment you'd like to. If you have an existing account, it really just takes us 1 or 2 days to make this type of investment. You just send us the paperwork, we get your approval of it. If you've already got the money in the account, we can go ahead and execute it pretty quickly. We do a lot of educational content. We have 2 educational webinars we put out a week. We have a podcast I referenced earlier. We have a blog on our website. Contact me directly or go to advantaira.com if you want to check out any of that stuff. Here's my contact information. I'm going to leave this on the screen while I go over these questions I saw coming in. So the first question I see here, can we loan to a investment property that we plan to buy outside of the retirement account? I would say no. The reason is that you're getting in what's called arm's length transaction when you're doing something like that. So if you've ever owned the piece of property outright or as an individual, you really should never invest your retirement account into it. So I can't loan on a piece of property I own. But also the converse of that, if you know in your heart that your intention is to make an investment in that property with your personal funds outside of the retirement account, it's going to be better off not to put any red tape around it by using your retirement account ahead of time. Next question here. Thanks, Corey, for the information. If the tenant were to sue and get a judgment in their favor, what would be the impact on the account? That is a great question. So for whatever reason, if a tenant decides to sue, let's say you own a property and a dog gets bit, or someone gets bit by a dog on your property. Technically speaking, all the legal expenses and all of the judgment would come out of the retirement account. So if you needed to retain a lawyer to deal with the legal ramifications of whatever situation is at play, the funds to retain that attorney and pay that attorney need to come out of your retirement account. That should not be coming out of your personal pocket. And then again, if there's a specific judgment, that would need to be paid out of the retirement account. So for reasons like that, again, I'm not here to give any legal advice or tax advice for that matter. Some people use LLCs to hold these types of assets. So you would set up an LLC within your retirement account and then own the actual property within that LLC to kind of break off and separate all of your different assets in your diversified portfolio for what it's worth there. I saw a third question, but I think it went away.
Yeah, I answered
Okay.
it. I answered it. Yeah. So the question was, will you be sending the deck? Yes, we'll be sending the deck and the recording to everyone. Yeah.
Of course. Yep. I knew that this was being recorded, and I will send the deck over to you guys here as soon as we hang up in a PDF format, and I'm happy for everyone to receive a copy of it so they can look it all over for sure.
Yeah, one more question, Corey, and listeners, they would like to learn if we invest in 3-4 different syndication through Advanta IRA, how can they see the performance of all the assets in one place?
Sure. So we have a client online portal. So our clients are able to see online, and they also get automatic email notifications, as I referenced earlier, with the payables and receivables. But online, when you're looking at your profile, you can click on each asset. It's going to be labeled with the term we use is a QSIP, like a 7-digit code for each individual asset you hold. And you can click on that and actually see the specific income generated or any outgoing costs, like when you funded the investment, how much that was funded for. And our system also allows our clients to look at reports that we automatically generate for you, like on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, things like that, and generate your own reports with your own modified filtering. So you can certainly break down those numbers pretty well that way. A lot of times as well, the syndication team that you invest with, the general partnership team, will be giving you a lot of those detailed information as well. So we're both working hand in hand to make sure these clients have as clear cut of a vision as to their investments as possible.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we have 2 more questions.
Oh, sorry, I closed the question box so I could see you as we were speaking there, Anshul.
No problem.
Who are the custodian for solo 401k and SDIRA? Okay, that's a great question. So for the SDIRA, your administrator is the custodian, basically. So they're one and the same. So if you had a SDIRA, Advanta IRA would be your custodian administrator. Those terms are pretty much synonymous for that purpose. With a solo 401k, at least in our offerings, we have 3 different levels of solo 401k plan. So we have a standard record keeping account where we do basic record keeping for the plan. We have an enhanced record keeping account where we do additional submission of required paperwork to the IRS, and also allow our clients to break down their traditional and their Roth money within the solo 401k, and we manage that portion. And then we offer a option called the do your own solo 401k, where with that model, you're just leasing our 401k plan document and effectively serving as your own custodian and trustee to your 401k plan. That is really the most cost-efficient plan we offer, but again, it puts all of the onus and responsibility on that account holder when they're doing the do your own plan. But in that case, they would be their own custodian and administrator and trustee for that plan type. But everything else, we would serve as the custodian and trustee, or custodian and administrator. Trustee is only applicable for the 401k. Next question here. Does your platform allow to trade stocks, ETFs, mutual funds while money is sitting there waiting for the right investment? Another great question. All of these have been great so far. We are not on what's called the DRS network because we're an alternative asset administrator. So we do not intuitively or inherently have an ability for clients to make those types of investments directly. Having said that, a client can use a brokerage account in the name of their account with us. So just for example's sake, you have an account with Advanta IRA, you just finished a syndication deal, you're prospecting some other deals, but you don't expect to jump into another syndication for 5 or 6 months, you can go to a Fidelity, a T. Rowe Price, a Merrill Lynch, and set up a brokerage account in the name of your Advanta IRA to actually hold. I'm sorry, my wife and my son are just getting home from dinner. Sorry, I just muted so the dogs barking wouldn't break your guys' ears. My apologies.
That's
You can set up a brokerage account in the name of your Advanta IRA so that you can make those investments that way. And another way clients do that commonly is just by using the LLC strategy I referenced earlier. So setting up an LLC, moving the funds into the LLC that you maintain and control, and then having that brokerage account in the name of that LLC. So those are just a few different ways to accomplish the goal of trading stocks, ETFs, mutual funds in a self-direct account. It's just a little bit of a workaround we have to do based on our compliance and our kind of scope in the retirement account industry as a self-directed administrator. Can we move partial amounts from IRA to SDIRA? Yes, absolutely. Of course, there's no restriction or rule saying you have to do all or nothing. This is definitely more so seen as a diversification tactic than everyone moves all of their money into a self-direct account and no longer holds anything in the publicly traded sector like stocks, bonds, mutual funds. You can move any portion of your IRA you want to, anytime you want to, as frequently as you want to. When you're talking about rollovers, so pulling money out of an employer-sponsored plan, whether it's the current employer with a in-service rollover or a previous employer, you may be tied to rules based on that employer plan. Sometimes they may say, oh, if you want to pull any portion of this money out because you left this job already, you have to pull all of it out. And if that be the case, sure, move it all out. Only move what you want to self-direct into a self-direct account and move the rest into a managed IRA with one of the fiduciary custodians, just to get it out of that previous employer-sponsored plan or current employer-sponsored plan, potentially, if you're in that situation. But either way, I would always implore people, instead of just letting their money sit idle or stay where they're complacent with it, to find the best place to go and accomplish all the things you want to do. Not seeing any more questions coming in. Just a quick note, I hope that this has been helpful to everyone. I really do have a passion for sharing this knowledge with people and really just building financial literacy any way I can. Just my background, I came from putting myself through college, living paycheck to paycheck for a number of years. And without finding this job with Advanta IRA and doing a lot of this research and education myself, I would have not known that these types of accounts even exist. And I wouldn't have not known how to start saving and setting aside money for, I have a 2-year-old now and I'm trying to build generational wealth for myself and my family. So I hope that what I've been able to share with everyone has been helpful and valuable. If you can share it with someone else, that'd be great. Just tell your friends, tell your family members, hey, there's this great thing you can do with your retirement funds that's not just letting it sit on the stock market or sit with a fund manager that's not doing right by you. There's great tools to do and great things you can utilize with self-directed investing.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Corey. This was really a great, precise, nice presentation. And if there are no other questions, we can end the session.
I see like 2 just came up. Thank you much for sharing all that you've learned. Truly appreciate. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Does your platform provide an alternative investment partners like private equity or other investments like crypto? So we allow any of the investments that someone would want to do, but we don't have a platform necessarily for investors to connect with investment providers. Again, because we're a self-directed administrator, our compliance does not let us say, hey, you should definitely go invest with this group or that group or this thing or that thing. The closest thing we have to that, on the final Friday of each month, we have a call called Pitch, Promote, and Prosper. It's a networking call. It's a Zoom session hosted from 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern time. And everyone that signs up for the call gets to go on stage or on mic on the Zoom call and say who they are, what they're looking for, or what they have to offer. So there's clients that say, hey, I'm Corey. I've got so-and-so dollars in my retirement account. I'd love to put it to work in multifamily real estate, or I'd love to put it to work in private lending to someone trying to buy a house or anything like that. And then we have referral partners and investment providers, hey, I'm Corey from Goldstone Capital Ventures. We've got this great deal in Murfreesboro going on right now. You should check it out. Here's some information. Here's my contact information. Reach out. So that's the closest thing we have to kind of connecting anyone like that. And it's really due to our compliance. Again, because we're a self-directed administrator, we have strict compliance. We cannot provide tax advice, legal advice, or financial advice. And any endorsing or promoting a specific offering above and beyond another would constitute financial advice. So hopefully that answered the question and can be helpful to anyone interested in that call.
So we have our questions answered, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I believe that was all of them. Yep.
Okay. Thank you so much, Corey. This was really a nice presentation, very educational, very informative. And yeah, we'll conclude the session here. And yeah, going back to Goldstone, we are not only a private equity investment firm, but we are also involved with a lot of nonprofit work, education, healthcare, fitness, a lot of other areas. So we also sponsor nonprofit organization, any kind of initiatives whenever there is a need. And here is our links and our contact details and the QR code for our link to the portal. So with that, I think we can conclude our session today.
Yeah, Corey, thank you so much for another great session. Very, very informative. It's great to listen to you all the time.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you for having me. And again, I really hope I brought some value to the audience tonight.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you so much for all the attendees. And we'll send the recording and the deck in next couple of days, hopefully very soon. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Bye
Have a
bye.
good flight, Corey.
Yeah.
Thank you.